All right, so I'm going to just do a few problems from this review page for our quiz this upcoming week. And so hopefully this might be helpful if you're struggling in some of the different concepts we're going over. So the first thing they're asking you to do is to identify formulas. You can look at the formula chart to do that. Number one, the directions for this say find the slope of the line shown on the graph. So I'm going to choose to do number 2. I'm going to start with number 2. So the first thing I want to do on number 2 is, in order to write this equation, I need y equals mx plus b. And so in order to find this solution, I'm going to need an m, and I'm going to need a b. My m is my slope, and my b is my y-intercept, and I'm going to identify my y-intercept here in blue. And so I see that that is a positive 2. So I'm going to know plus 2. And then now they gave us some pretty points, and I can use either the pretty points that they gave, which are this point and this point, or if I notice I can find other pretty points myself. I see that there's a pretty point here and a pretty point here. And so my rise is 2, my run is 1. And so that leaves me with a slope of 2. And then that would be my equation there. And I'm just going to show you, if I were to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 1, 2, 3, 4, with the 2 pretty points that they gave on the graph, 8 over 4 is still 2. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is problem number 7. And on this one, they're asking for you to find the slope of the line that passes through the 2 given points. So when I'm given 2 points, I can put them on a graph, but easier than having to sketch a graph is using our slope of a line formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's m equals. Also can be found on your formula chart. So again, I'm going to take my coordinate pairs and label them either 1 or 2. So the 1s have to go together and the 2s have to go together. So then I just take my numbers and put them into my formula. So I have my line, my subtraction sign, and then I see that y2 is negative 7. So that's going to go in that space. And then y1 is also negative 7. Then on x2, I see x2 is 2 and x1 is 4. So when I simplify this, negative 7 minus a negative 7. So when we subtract a negative, we are actually adding. So negative 7 plus 7 is going to be 0. And then 2 minus 4 is going to lead us to a negative 2. So anything that is 0 divided by any number is just going to give us a slope of 0. Because if I have 0 things to give out to anybody, it's going to end up, nobody's going to get anything. The next portion is graph each equation using slope-intercept form. So each of my equations are in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to do number 10. Number 10 next. So again, we're going to start by graphing our y-intercept, which is negative 5. So here's my b, here's my m. So I'm going to go to negative 5. So I start at the origin, count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I will place a pretty point there. And then with my m, I'm going to convert this to a rise over run since we're using a graph. So I'm going to rise 1, run 1, 2. And I can keep doing that in both directions, rise 1, run 2. And I could also go in the opposite direction, starting from here, because I need my line to continue in both directions. I can go down 1 and left 2, and that would continue my graph in the proper direction, since they're going on forever and ever. Okay, The next section is asking us to graph each equation by converting to slope-intercept form. So each of our equations is now given in standard form. So I'm going to go ahead and do number 14. So we need our equation to be in y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form. So in order to do that, we're going to have to subtract x from both sides. And then we have negative 4y equals negative, I'm actually going to write the x first, negative x minus 24. Then, to get our y by itself, we're going to have to divide both sides by negative 4. I'm going to divide both terms by negative 4 individually. So there's 1, so we're left with y equals. So this is where people might get confused. So the number in front of x is a 1. So an easier way to write this rather than negative x over 4 is actually negative 1 over 4 with the x off to the side. And then negative 24 divided by negative 4 is a positive 6. So then we can transfer this to the graph by placing our y-intercept b at a positive 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then our slope is negative 1 over 4. Remembering that when we're using a graph, we want to think of it in rise over run. So we have a rise of negative 1 over a run of 4. So from my y-intercept, I can either go up 1 and left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and place a point there. Or I can also go down 1 and right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we need our line to continue in both directions, positive and negative, but our overall slope is a negative line, and if we think of slope, dude, that is the direction we would want. Ooh, actually, I made a mistake, and maybe you caught it before I did. I'm not gonna start over. Okay, my y-intercept is correct, but if you notice what I did here, it was negative 1 divided by negative 4. So this should actually be a positive 1/4 x. So now let me just reverse that. Up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. That line looks better anyway. Okay, so negative 1 over negative 4. So remember, right here, I made a mistake the first time, but there we go. Okay, on the last one, it's saying to find our X and Y intercepts. So we practiced this in class on Thursday. So what we're going to do to find the X and Y intercepts is plug in 0 for the X or Y in order to find its intercept. So when I plug in 0, so if I have two coordinate pairs, I have 0, comma, a number, and a number, comma, 0. So this is when X is 0, and this is when Y is 0. So when I substitute an X or a 0 for X and solve, I end up having to divide, so the 0 doesn't actually matter there. So I'm going to have to divide both sides by negative 1, and we get Y equals 5. So when X is 0, Y is 5. And then for the other one, we would have X minus 0 equals 5. And then if we were to add 0 to both sides, we know that that wouldn't do anything. So we'd just be left with X equals a positive 5. So when Y is 0, we have an X that's 5. So then we can graph both of those points over 1, 2, 3. So we have 5, 0, our x-intercept, and 0, 5, our y-intercept. And this would allow us to draw a line for this equation.